Now, many people realize there's two calendars that we as believers look at. One is the Jewish calendar, and the other is the Roman calendar, the one that most people use. And there's a year change every Rosh Hashanah, Feast of Trumpets in Judaism. The year now is Troy Brewer, who's a numbers guy.
Yes, sir.
You love numbers, and I have seen the supernatural revelation. I want to find out what God is showing you, because here we are on the Jewish calendar, 5781.
Yes, sir.
What does that mean, and how does it tie in with the Roman calendar?
You know, there actually is an amazing convergence of the two calendars that's taken place as we get closer and closer and closer to the return of King Jesus. And I really saw it this last year in a tremendous way. That, of course, on the Gregorian calendar, we were in 2021. I'm sorry, we were in 2020. But we went from one decade into a new one, the same as on the Hebrew calendar.
You know, I saw that, and I thought, well, he must have something for the new year.
That's
but
right.
I didn't see anything on it, so I got you in the studio, so I want to know what God's showing you.
Well, 5781 is we move from the 5780 into the 57. And of course, now we're talking Hebrew calendar, which is a lunar calendar. It's a circular calendar, as opposed to the solar calendar, which is the Greek and the Roman calendar, or the Gregorian calendar, and that is a linear calendar. So one is seasons, the other one is times. Times are always linear and seasons are always circular. Okay? So it's important that we do understand both calendars. From the 5780, we moved into not just the year, but the decade of the pay. The 80 actually represents a mouth. It represents a mouth or a pay. And how fascinating is it that the year we moved into the decade of lining up the mouth of God, that our mouths are commanded to be covered all over the world. How amazing is it that as we enter into the year where we're supposed to declare the breath of God, the saying that everyone has heard of for justice is, I can't breathe. Immediately, as soon as we entered into this, there was something different that began to take place, huge opposition. But in the year 5780, which is the year 2020, we saw the changing of the wineskin like we've never, ever seen. We have seen a worldwide mandate that you must change your wineskin, because I believe that there's about to be an outpouring of the Holy Spirit, and the Lord doesn't want to waste this wine. So He caused us all to change our wineskins. It's never happened in the history of the earth that the entire planet Earth actually had to change. All their methods, how they do everything. The entire body of Jesus all over the world has had to change everything.
Well, it was just like 9/11, we've never been the same.
That's right.
COVID afterwards,
yes, that's right.
We will never be the same.
Yes, and even more drastically. But where sin does abound, grace does much more abound, right? There are innovative and creative ideas that the Lord is unleashing on the entire planet Earth right now for those who have an eye to see and for those who have an ear to hear. But brother, we live in a very different world. Now, so we move from, it's not just the year of the pay, it's the decade of the pay. So we're still in that. But now we have a 1 attached to it, 5781. And we know the 1 is the head. It's the beginning, it's the head, it's the authority. So if we just look at the numbers, 5781, and I know that you know this, brother, but I'm just going to explain it for the sake of anybody that doesn't. Any single Hebrew letter has 3 different values. It has a phonic sound, okay? And then it has a numerical value, because they don't use numeral system, they use a letter system. And then it also has a prophetic picture. So if we look at 5781, there's already a huge revelation if you understand what does a 5 mean, the 7, and the 81. Okay, so the number 5 in Hebrew literally is, well, it's a hey, and I'm going to butcher the Hebrew language. I can't even hardly speak English.
That's okay. We're only in Israel.
Exactly. That's why I'm saying that.
Okay.
So I don't want to even attempt that. People be like, what? Okay. But the 5, the 7, the 8, and the 1. So here's how this works. It's like saying this: be strong and look, be separated, because the 5 represents an eye, the 7 represents a plow, the 1 represents, the het or the 8 represents a fence.
A what?
A fence.
A fence.
A fence or a wall. And then the 1 represents an ox. An eye, a plow, a fence, and an ox. Like, what could that possibly be? Okay, the eye means you need to look and you need to be watchful. The plow means you need to take action and you have to be a part of the harvest. You have to be a part of the harvest. You have to be connected to the kingdom and you have to take action. The next one is a fence. You have to be separate. You're going to have a different spirit. Your news source is going to have to be a different news source this year. And then the ox means to be strong and to lead. I think that we're going to see some of the same things this year that's going to carry over from last year, but I can tell you this, there's also going to be a new thing. There's going to be a definite separation of kingdom people this year like we have not seen before, and an authority that is given unto kingdom people towards the harvest. Remember, Sid, we all had to change our wineskins. And Jesus says, if you don't change the wineskin whenever he gets ready to give you new wine, then you ruin both the wineskin and the new wine. This new wine that is about to be poured out will not be wasted. There's another fascinating thing too whenever I look at this, because if I look at 8 plus 1, 81, that equals 9. And then I also know that 9 times 9 equals 81. And 9 is a biblical kingdom number for fruit bearing. Okay, so the redeemed version of that is, of course, there are 9 fruit of the Holy Spirit. That's Galatians 5:22. And by the way, 5 plus 2 plus 2 equals 9. And Galatians is the 9th book within the New Testament.
You really are a numbers person.
I can't help it. I find the joy of the Lord in it. So 9 represents the fruit of the Holy Spirit. Okay, so we know what the fruit of the Holy Spirit are. Love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance, and against such there is no law. You can do no wrong, and I love that. Okay, Galatians is actually like the manifesto of Christian freedom. You can be free, right? So in the midst of all that, I'm telling you that 9 is fruit bearing. All the way through the Bible, it has to do with fruit. And by the way, it takes a woman 9 months to have a child.
Of course.
So this is a year that a baby is born. And if you're not sure of that, the 81st verse in the Bible, remember it's 57:81, the 81st verse in the entire Bible is Genesis 4:1. And Adam knew Eve, his wife, and she conceived and bore Cain. And she said, I have acquired a man from the Lord. There's going to be a lot of people this year that's going to say, my baby has finally been born. The thing that was hidden within me, the thing I had always hoped for, the thing I have labored for, look at what the Lord has done. The Lord also gave me this too. Whenever I was looking at this, 9 times 9 equals 81. I heard this, Lord, when I was fasting and when I was seeking the Lord, I heard this word and I heard God say, double for your trouble. I'm like, really?
So what I'm hearing you say is if you're in the valley, God is saying, double for your trouble.
Yes, sir. I love that. I feel the Lord when I say it. I feel the presence of God right now.
Me too.
That in the places where we've just been so hurt and we've been confused and we've been saying, what does this mean? And what could that possibly mean? And how do we do all this? The Lord's like, no. I'm going to pour out my grace and I'm going to cause this thing to be birthed within you, but I'm going to give you double for your trouble in the year 5781.
How about the year 2021?
Well, whenever I look at 2021, one of the things that I'm fascinated with, I was so amazed at 2020 because I was so excited for the year 2020. I've been waiting for 2020 my whole life. The Lord told me when I was a young man, keep your eye on 2020. And I've been waiting my whole life. Wait till 2020, it's going to be so great. And then, oh my gosh, what a difficult year it has been. However, the Lord's word was still real, and what God said is still the truth. And I've seen God do some of the greatest miracles I've ever seen. I've seen this year, not 2 years ago or 3 years ago, this year.
We're seeing acceleration in our ministry, unbelievable, because I was forced to do things different.
Your wineskin was changed. It's a new era. It's a new time. It's a new season. It's completely different than how it has been. And the Lord is looking for people to cooperate with that. I know, I'm just going to tell you one little tidbit about 2021. As we move from the 0 to the 1, the same as on the Hebrew calendar, right? And we know that Jesus said that there will be signs in the sun and in the moon and the stars. We know that. But man, when God is saying the same word for the sun calendar, when God is saying the same word in the moon calendar, and when the heavens declare the glory of God and the word is all the same, oh my goodness, that is so powerful. I can tell you this, when it comes to the number 21, it's a very special number because it's simply 7 times 3. It's 7, 7, 7. And there are, I remember in the Hebrew year, 5777, which was like 2016 on the Gregorian calendar, that was a year that everything changed in so many different ways in so many people's lives across the kingdom. There was a huge advancement that happened in the year 5777 for kingdom people all over the world. I'm telling you that this year, 5781 is one of those years. And on the Gregorian calendar, it is 2021. So 20 is expectancy.
So you got that 21 both.
That's exactly right. You got it both. You got it, brother. And so there we are. And so we're going to see it happen. And I just prophesy to you and just tell you that this is a tremendous year for you, Sid. This is a tremendous year for you. There's been a lot of things that you have fought through, that you have quietly fought through, and you've had these burdens, and this is a year that the manifest presence of the Lord is going to remove burdens and destroy yokes for you. And that always happens when there's a lineup of 777. So I speak that on you. I declare that over you this year, my friend, and declare that over every single person that's a part of your listening audience.
A double 777. What more could you ask for? But there is going to be such an eruption, I believe, this year of the manifest presence of God, the global glory of God, that what in our natural peanut brain can't put itself around. Because it's God that's going to set those loved ones free.
Yes.
It's God that's going to turn your finances around. Yes. It's God that's going to restore your health. It's God that's going to restore your marriage. Double for your trouble.